Why, hello there. It's good to see all of you again. This is Rogue Blades, and we're going to be playing a little bit of LazeRazor Arena today with my favorite class, the Assassin. And as you can see, this is a rather long video. This was something like a 20-minute match with no juice purchase and a 3-minute overtime. And for people running servers, try not to do stuff like this. No juice purchase might be fun once in a while, but it makes supports really strong, it makes games almost always go to time, and a lot of players don't like it because of that. But I wanted to make this video to talk about something a little bit different, namely, if KDR is all that important, I would like to also talk about, the competitive mentality and the state of the game regarding competitive mentality. So, a lot of people like to argue about whether or not KDR is really important, and if they think that getting lots of kills is more important than winning games. And so I thought I'd like to make this video to kind of explain what I feel about it and explain what a lot of other players seem to think about it too. And I guess I should say before I start talking about anything that these are of course all my opinions. I don't expect all of you to agree with me, and I can already see some of the YouTube comments, "You're a fucking retard, you're stupid, you've got it all wrong," and it's great that you have your opinion, and this is what I got to say. So, obviously the two groups have something to say different. Do I want a high KDR or do I not want a high KDR, and do I just want to play for the objective every time? And what does it really matter? So players who like to watch out for their kill-death ratio typically have a more conservative style. I know I certainly have a very conservative style, almost to a fault sometimes, but you'll notice that a lot of these kind of players will sometimes forego objectives like keeping the money ball down, killing bots, or going for the Annihilator in order to keep their streak alive, kill players, not die, stuff like that. And a lot of these players are, typically accused of kill whoring or spawn camping, but to a lot of high-level players, this is actually part of their game plan. I mean, many of these players feel like killing other players repeatedly without dying is how they contribute to their team's overall success. And I mean, it goes without saying, more kills equals more money equals more better. And the ability to streak while keeping the other players from streaking means economic dominance. There's no arguing that. And this style of play also has its merits when trying to gain map control too. I know a lot of objective-based players think that high KDR players are way too passive when it comes to gaining map control. They're too worried about dying to take important points like the Annihilator or important chokes in the map. But high KDR players kind of understand the push and pull mentality. That's kind of a comp TF2 term where you know when it's time to push and when it's time to pull back to preserve team dynamics and to preserve a kill streak in this game even. These kind of players typically don't try to upset that delicate push and pull without some kind of upper hand like strength in numbers, Annihilator backup, or a juice rush to kill their base. And this can be really important at, key parts of the game where not dying can mean gaining something very important and tipping the scales or keeping the scales in your favor. But on the other hand, we have what I like to call objective players. And I mean, I call them these things, high KDR players and objective players. That's not to say that a KDR player won't go for the objective and take a death for it. And that's also not to say that an objective player won't go kill whore. But I mean, it's just kind of what I use to differentiate the two. So these objective players, typically play a much more aggressive game than KDR players. And every time they come off a spawn, they have one goal in mind, And as long as they satisfy that goal, they're happy with the death they take. I mean, it's just what it takes to get what they want. So, in one life, they might think, okay, the Annihilator's coming up, I want that. If I die, whatever, I want the Annihilator. On another life, they might think, okay, the ball is down, I just want to touch that and keep it down, Or kill a key player, maybe pick a player with juice or someone with a high streak, maybe cripple their economic dominance. But no matter what it is, they always just think of something to do. And, I mean, it's not a bad thing. I think of objective players as slightly more of like short-term in their goals, and I think of high KDR players as a long-term player. Not to say one's better than the other for sure. But, what I mean by that short-term, long-term thing is a high KDR player is going to think, okay, over the course of the game, there are these things I want to do, all while preserving a streak, and I will do what it takes to get those things, but the streak might come first if it has to. And with the objective players, they just think, this life, I need to do something this life, and then next life I'll worry about what I need to do that life. And I know a lot of people don't like to see stuff like that, and they criticize those objective-based players because they think, you went 15 and 10, you must not be very good. But in reality, I've played with some exceptionally good objective-based players, notably Fireman. He's really good at stuff like that, where I can go 20-1, 20-2, 20-3, 30-0 even, but it doesn't even matter because he'll end this game with the way he plays, and no amount of kill whoring that I do or anyone else does is going to stop someone who is relentless in keeping the ball down and juices every chance they get. It's very effective for stuff like that. I mean, it doesn't look good on your stats. It doesn't look good to have, you know, your 1 or less kill-death ratio, but they don't care because they care about winning. And that's, I mean, in comp play, I would guess that's what's most important. But that's not to say that objective players aren't without their faults in the mentality. I mean, I know that I've been criticized for being too conservative, for waiting when people think I shouldn't have, but, you know, in my opinion, waiting 5 seconds for a better opportunity to do something than running in and potentially dying is always a better option. And I find myself dying a lot when I try to force things, when I try to do something that isn't natural to my style, when I try to go for something that seems very risky. Like in that video you just saw how I went for that sniper, I missed that lunge. In my opinion, the reasonable thing would have been to go away, maybe try again, harass some other part of the map, but instead I got greedy, went up that grab lift, and there just happened to be an assassin there. Maybe he came out of spawn, or maybe he was kind of watching me, but if I had been playing a little more conservatively, I could have gotten out of there and preserved my streak. But back to the whole objective players, so with that waiting 5 seconds thing, I feel like, you know, instead of just rushing in for the objective headlong, if some of these players would wait 5 seconds, maybe, you know, 5 or 6 seconds, they could have a much better opportunity to push forward when the other team just isn't ready for it, or when they have backup or annihilator support or juice or anything. But instead, some of them just choose to run in after the objective, and it's unfortunate because, of course, they're going to die in a 3-on-1 situation, or when there's a lot of rocket turrets or what have you, and they're going to give up their map control. And I know the spawn time isn't long in this game, but 5 or 10 seconds can mean a lot. It can mean the other team raining down a little bit of pain on your bots, getting free juice that you could have easily prevented them from getting, and maybe it could even have prevented a money ball drop, something big like that. But at the same time, you know, high KDR players also kind of need to learn that there is a time to run in and die for something very important. Like maybe it is getting kind of clutch in the end game, and you want to keep that money ball down, but you also have a decent streak. But you got to remember, you're near the end game. There's not a lot left in this particular match. The only thing that should matter at that point is the objective. So have I died protecting an objective or going after something important? I mean, I have. It's hard to say that I do that a lot because assassins have this lucky little circumstance that they can get away with almost anything and not die. I can tap that ball and then run away. I can go for an annihilator when it is completely surrounded by enemy pros, and I can almost always get that thing and not die. And I agree, that kind of crap is pretty fucking stupid, but you know, you gotta use what the game gives you in terms of skills and abilities, and I think that is perfectly balanced when it is combined with the fact that I am incredibly delicate and get ripped apart like a whore on prom night. And I guess that makes a nice little lead-in into, you know, my talk about the competitive mentality and doing what it takes to win, not just, you know, objective-based playing, but doing anything it takes to get out of a situation with the advantage on your side. And as some of you know, I played a lot of competitive Super Smash Brothers. I know some of you think, oh hey, that's gay, Super Smash Brothers, but I liked it. It's got a good scene. If you don't know about it, maybe you should check it out. But and so for those of you that don't, yeah, that's what I did. I played that game competitively for a year and a half, 2 years, Sonic main, for anyone who cares. But in that game, there is a lot of imbalance and a lot of whining and a lot of bitching that goes on about how you did something that was really gay, and I think that's stupid, and I don't use that strategy because I'm above that. And that, to me, is absolutely silly. No matter what game you are playing, you should always play using every tool you have at your disposal. And if you don't do that, you're really selling yourself short, because you better believe that I'm not going to do that, and every other high-level player isn't going to do that too, because it's stupid. And you should feel stupid if you think about stuff like that. I mean, in a more real-world take on it, that's like saying, I'm not going to go for a three-point shot in basketball because it's cheap and it gives me more points, and I'm above that. I'm just going to go for layups and short-range shots. But, I mean, if it's broken, in a competitive community with good updaters, I mean games like TF2 and I hope like this one, it seems like they're updating well, but if there is something that's broken, you should use it until it's not broken anymore. I mean, to be perfectly honest, if you are playing to win, you should play to win. If you're playing to have fun, you should also play to have fun, but at the same time, I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. I, for instance, think that winning is fun, so I'm going to play to win, because that's how I have fun. And if you think for 1 second that I'm not going to backstab you because it's a one-hit KO, or headshot you because it's a one-hit KO, or bomb 3 or charge 3 you off the level because it's gay as fuck and I think it's gay as fuck too, I mean, you're dead wrong. I'm going to do shit like that because it's a free kill essentially, and there's nothing or very few things that players can do to prevent stuff like that. And I mean, will I run back to my base when I'm low on health to prevent dying, to prevent you getting that kill that I don't think you deserve? You better believe I will. And will I lunge a gunner with red HP and get that kill for free? Oh, definitely. It is free. Why not take something like that? I mean, game honor is good and all, but, you know, it's kind of silly at the end of the day. Game chivalry never existed in the first place, so you gotta get over that. And to all you ragers out there, I feel your sympathy. People who play with me know that I am one of the first people to rage if something stupid happens. Assaults especially, that whole class is bullshit. IMO. But, you know, if you rage and you get vocal about it, it's only gonna make the good players want to hurt you more. And from a competitive standpoint, I mean, it's good if I'm making someone rage, because at that point I've gotten in their head, and you know, now I kind of not only control the game, but I kind of control what they think about the game. And if I repeatedly gay them over and over and over again, if I charge them off the level, if I backstab them, if I camp them in spawn and they just get frustrated and start throwing keyboards like angry German kid, I've kind of already won the game. And in any type of game at a competitive level, every player knows that they have to do what it takes to win. That means, you know, in this game, using ejectors, stupid crap like that to get a kill, and spawn camping with juice. I mean, there's kind of a contract that a lot of competitive players unknowingly sign where they think, I am going to be as gay as possible, and I completely expect that my opponent will be as gay as possible as well. Like here, there's a red gunner. I'm going to pick that fight because that's free, and it doesn't even matter because he didn't see me coming, he was too concerned with something else, and I just raped him for it. And there are so many players out there, so many casual players who are on the verge of being at a competitive level that just need to get over their mentality of not doing something because they don't like how it works. I mean, you have so much potential at that point, but you are crippling yourself by not playing with all the tools at your disposal. And I mean, for the assassin, a perfect example is lunge grappling. So many people hate that, and of course I love it. But if I didn't do that, it'd be like going through life without my right hand. It would just be silly and unnecessary, and, you know, I'd probably get in trouble and hurt myself a lot. But at the same time, of course, there is that distinction that needs to be made between playing for keeps and playing for fun. And once in a while, I won't do the thing that's the best option. I'll do the thing that's the most fun at the time. And so high-level players obviously have to keep that in mind, or else, you know, they're going to get burnt out, they're just going to rinse, wash, and repeat the same strategy every single game, and they're never going to have any fun with it, and they're just going to stomp noobs every day. And this was kind of a mentality I picked up, once again, playing Brawl, because in that community, there is a distinction that is made between friendly matches and competitive matches. And not only is there a distinction made, there is a lot of people would say there's an entirely different style of play, where dicking around is far more common in friendly matches, and a lot of people would go so far as to say you can't even learn anything from a friendly match because you're not seeing someone as they would play in the most serious environment. But, you know, there is truth in that, but obviously you're going to get some indication of how the other person plays, you're going to get some read on them, you're going to learn something. You're going to learn something every time you play anything, every time you do anything. But, so how does this really apply to MNC? Well, in MNC, there's a lot of high-level players I know who really hate pubs. They think, I can't learn anything, I can't get any better playing 4, 5, or 6 people who bought this game a week ago and don't know how to play the class they're playing and run in and die repeatedly. And that is true. It can be frustrating to play against people that don't provide an adequate challenge. I mean, once again, the same can be said about almost anything in life. But there are things that you can work on in a pub environment, in my opinion, and this kind of goes all the way back to high KDR versus objective, you can refine the way you go for an objective. You can think, okay, what's the fastest way that I roll out of the base? Should I lunge off the map here? Should I bomb jump if I'm an assault? Should I tank jump this way? You know, should I do this, that, or the other thing? You know, you can also refine, you know, the mechanics of how you play in a combat environment. You can go for those high KDRs. I mean, personally, the way I like to play in a pub is KDRs, because I feel like that is one of the few things that I can always improve no matter who is playing. You know, I can always think, I did something wrong here. I did not use the tool that was most efficient to kill this player or to escape this situation. You can also use your time in pubs to figure out the best way to go after the money ball, because for an assassin there are a lot of options when it comes to taking apart the money ball. You have, I mean, I would say a lot of novice players, you have far more options than you really realize. In a couple of my other videos, you've seen, you know, the bomb jump to the top, and the better assassins will hop around the top railings, and it doesn't matter how good the other team is, they just can't touch them. And once they finally do touch them, they just go somewhere else and keep on that money ball. That can be really good to figure out stuff like that in pubs, so don't automatically discount your time in a pub as being useless because everyone is bad. And obviously, to intro-level players, your time in a pub is, well, it's all you've got, and so that's where you're going to refine all of those mechanics in the first place. So I'll probably make a, you know, a beginners-only type video later where I talk about specifics for new players and what, you know, you could be focusing on to improve your game with any given class. But you've got to understand that this game is tough, it has a high learning curve, and don't automatically get discouraged when you play, because, oh my god, the first week or two I played this game, I wasn't sure if I liked it. It was incredibly confusing. Coming from a game like Team Fortress 2, I thought I was just dying to random shit left, right, up, down. It was just dumb to me. But I started to understand what was going on, and, you know, now I feel like this game actually has less random shit that can just kill you in a pub than a TF2 pub, and so that's one of the things you learn after playing for a little while. So with that, I'd kind of like to bring it around to a conversation about, like, the state of the game, you know, where I hope this kind of thing goes. I really obviously want to see this game taken seriously at a competitive level. I don't think MLG is ever going to happen for this, which is unfortunate, but I don't think it has that following yet. Cross my fingers, maybe one day. But at this point in time, I feel the game is pretty solid. Obviously, Uber still needs to put a lot of work into it, like any game with, you know, a lot of online and a lot of things that need balancing. It takes constant vigilance to make sure that things don't go unchecked, like something silly like those air grabs. But at this point in time, you know, Uber has done an excellent job with the product they've made. It is very polished, very nice, and the things that were bugged were fixed relatively quickly. They've promised lots of new things. They've added all these extra features that, while a lot of players might think are unnecessary, they add a little bit of pretty to the game, so to speak, and that's always good for selling people. But like any other fan, of course, I have my wish list for things I want in this game. Obviously, more maps. Please, if anybody on the Uber team is ever watching this video, oh, more maps. I mean, we have Uncle Tully's coming up soon, and that looks neat. Hopefully it's not as bad as Steel Peel. That's all I can say about that. But that looks cool. Obviously I want more maps. I guess, you know, I can't complain at this point because original, like, TF2, because people love to compare it to this. I mean, TF2 shipped with, what, 5-6 maps at launch? But the community made almost every map since then, and they were picked up very quickly by Valve, and that's great. I guess that kind of brings me to my second little item on the wish list, the developer's toolkit. Oh, we need this so bad. I mean, that's what's going to give us a lot of our maps. It's what's going to give us maybe a lot of our content. And once Uber kind of figures out that they don't even have to do as much work once they give us the developer's toolkit, because the community will be kind enough to do all of that work for them. And for a small company like Uber, I think this is even more invaluable than a big company like Steam, or Valve even. But, I mean, that's really going to be a make or break. If they can get us that before people start getting burnt out on the stuff they keep making, it's gonna make a development community, and that is always good for any game. But you know, back to some other things I want to see in the game. Oh gosh, I hate to QQ, but I feel like Assault's just a little bit strong at this point. In fact, I think they need to be fixed like a horny puppy, but something, anything. Bomb 3 is so good, Charge 3 is annoying as hell, even though high-level Assaults tend to not use it. And in a slightly less mechanical desire, I kind of want to see, I don't know, maybe rewards for people high in the leaderboards, top 10, top 50, top 100, whatever, for anything. Maybe they get a custom skin or a new grab or something stupid, I don't care, but it helps legitimize what they're doing, and it makes those players strive for something special. And by denying something to some players and giving it to people who have obviously put in more time and more effort into learning finer things about the game, it's going to keep a nice sense of competition natural without having players force it with tournaments and stuff like that. But obviously, cosmetic things and unnecessary features take a backseat to you know, glitch fixes and bugs. Obviously, all that stuff has to get worked out to have a nice, smooth gaming experience for new and veteran players. I'm talking about stuff like Assaults not being able to buy juice on LazeRazor. I'm talking about the magical ejectors that just seem to stop working. I'm talking about the invincible assassin. I'm talking about tanks that spin in place like pretty ballerinas. But ultimately, with all those things aside, I am incredibly impressed with you, Uber. You have done a fantastic job. I love your product, and I hear that was stupid. I love your product, and I think that you guys, for what you are, have made a game that is one of the better shooters I've ever played. And it's certainly fun to finally play a game that breaks the Call of Duty Modern Warfare standard of gritty, bloody realism screen and slow two-hit kills, and I'm just gonna fucking stab you and camp with a sniper rifle. Oh, it's nice to play something that's a little more fun than that. So I guess, you know, in closing, I have nothing but praise to give this game and Uber. Of course it needs fixes, like anything, but, you know, good job, and I want to see this game really go somewhere. I don't want to see it die, because it is a lot of fun. But I promised myself I would go to sleep when I got home tonight, and instead I stayed up for far too long doing this commentary. It is now like 4 in the morning here, and so that's it for me tonight. As you see from the video, I played a pretty solid game, 32-3, a lot of bot kills, very good. But hopefully you learned something from this and from the commentary, and it has been a pleasure as always, and until next time, this has been Rogueblades. Stay sneaky.